Our blue planet, a world dominated by water, is facing a silent invasion. Every day, tons of plastic waste flow into our rivers, carried by currents towards the vast expanse of our oceans. This isn't just a problem for marine life, it's a crisis that affects us all. Plastic bottles, bags, and packaging accumulate in these waterways, choking the life out of them. The world's rivers act as arteries, connecting our human world to the heart of our oceans. As plastic waste travels along these arteries, it breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, eventually becoming microplastics. These tiny plastic particles are almost impossible to remove, creating a toxic soup that contaminates our water sources. The scale of this pollution is staggering. A recent study estimated that over 8 million tons of plastic end up in our oceans every year. This is equivalent to dumping a garbage truck full of plastic into the ocean every minute of every day. The consequences of our actions are clear. Our rivers and oceans are drowning in plastic. We must act now to stem the tide of this pollution. If we fail, the consequences for our planet and ourselves will be devastating. The plastic that pollutes our rivers doesn't simply disappear into the ocean depths. Instead, it becomes a silent killer, infiltrating the marine food web with devastating consequences. Fish, mistaking microplastics for food, consume these tiny particles. These microplastics then accumulate in the fish's digestive system, often leading to starvation or suffocation. Larger marine animals, such as seabirds, turtles, and whales, mistake plastic bags and debris for jellyfish or other prey. Ingesting these materials can block their digestive tracts, leading to a slow and agonizing death.
The problem doesn't end there. As larger fish consume smaller fish that have ingested microplastics, the plastic travels up the food chain. This process, known as biomagnification, means that the concentration of plastic increases at each trophic level. By the time it reaches our plates, the seafood we consume could contain dangerous levels of plastic contaminants. This hidden threat to our food security demands our immediate attention. We can no longer ignore the interconnectedness of our actions and the health of our oceans.
We might not see it, but plastic has become an unwelcome guest at our dinner table. Fish and shellfish, contaminated with microplastics, are consumed by millions of people worldwide. This means that we are inadvertently ingesting the very plastic that we discard so carelessly. Beyond seafood, microplastics have infiltrated our water sources, salt, and even beer. These tiny particles have been found in honey, sugar, and other everyday food items.
The ubiquity of plastic pollution means that it is virtually impossible to avoid consuming some level of microplastics. While the long-term effects of microplastic consumption on human health are still being researched, the potential for harm is undeniable. These tiny plastic particles can leach harmful chemicals into our bodies, disrupting our hormones and potentially leading to serious health problems. The food we eat, once a source of nourishment and pleasure, is now a potential pathway for plastic contamination. We must acknowledge this threat and take action to protect ourselves and future generations.
The silent killer. Health risks for adults. The dangers of plastic pollution are not limited to the environment. They pose a significant threat to human health, particularly for adults.
Microplastics, often too small to be seen with the naked eye, can accumulate in our organs over time. Research suggests that these particles can trigger inflammation and oxidative stress, leading to chronic diseases.
Studies have linked plastic exposure to a range of health issues in adults, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and certain types of cancer.
The chemicals found in plastics can disrupt our endocrine system, affecting hormone production and potentially impacting reproductive health. Pregnant women are particularly vulnerable, as plastic chemicals can cross the placenta and harm the developing fetus.
Exposure to certain plastics has been associated with low birth weight, developmental delays, and an increased risk of childhood obesity and other health problems. While more research is needed to fully understand the long-term impacts of plastic consumption, the evidence is clear. Plastic pollution is a serious public health concern that demands urgent action. turning the tide communities fighting back. Despite the enormity of the plastic pollution crisis, there is hope. Communities around the world are taking action to combat this global threat.
From cleaning up beaches and rivers to reducing plastic consumption and promoting recycling, individuals are making a difference. Volunteers regularly participate in organized beach cleanups, removing tons of plastic waste from our shores. Many communities are implementing plastic bag bans and promoting the use of reusable shopping bags. Schools are educating the next generation about the importance of reducing plastic waste and recycling responsibly. Innovators and entrepreneurs are developing sustainable alternatives to plastic packaging, using materials like bamboo, seaweed, and mushroom-based packaging. Governments are implementing policies to reduce plastic production and promote recycling initiatives.
The fight against plastic pollution is a collective effort that requires action from individuals, communities, and governments worldwide. By working together, we can turn the tide on this global crisis and protect our planet for generations to come.